Now, SQL, or a structured query language, is how we interact with the programs and its database. It's actually how we query a database and get data back out of its database. Modifying a SQL query that is passed to a web application, a SQL server, and so forth. Also, you will see how by adding code into a data stream by using specifically crafted SQL queries, we can bypass login screens, and vulnerable websites can also return usernames, passwords, and so forth with the right SQL injection techniques used. And I will also do a quick demonstration of that in just a moment. And you'll notice in doing so, we can cause an application to throw an error and crash, basically allowing an attacker remote access into that web server, or at least access to information from within that server like username, passwords, credit card information if it is not properly stored. Okay, now let's have a look at a SQL injection demonstration here.
Firing up a Firefox browser in my lab. And then from there's a ready-made website that has some vulnerabilities kind of built in to kind of illustrate some of the things we're talking about, right? SQL injection being one of those. Now I'll type in 172.31.24.40. It will bring up the demo website. And then once the website loads, we'll just go ahead and close the initial welcome screen. And from there, we can see that we have an account, we can log into that site, and then there's a number of vulnerabilities that we could be looking at. Again, just a quick demo to illustrate a SQL injection concept. Now, if I hit F12 to bring up my developer toolbar, and I have it docked to the right here. So if I go ahead and click on login, again, I will use test@test.com with the password of test, and then I hit login. So if I look on the network tab here, and I click on login, it shows me some information about the login request that was sent to that website. If I click on the response, it'll say invalid email or password. Well, if I add a single quote to the end of that, it will basically give an invalid SQL command. Let's see what happens there. I hit login again, and I click down on this login, and we see some additional information here. So I can see that is giving me some information that I can now use to see what's going on. So if I look all the way down to the bottom here, I can see it's showing me the actual SQL query that's being passed to the web server. So select star from users where email equals test to test and password equals this hashed password, and delete it is at null. So if I go ahead and just take that out a little bit further and say, okay, I passed an invalid command, and now I know it's giving me back some information that it really shouldn't. If this is constructed properly, it wouldn't give back this information, or at least not pass it back to the user. It would have some additional error handling in place. So by adding an additional command here, let's go ahead and add our 1 equals 1. Because now what we're doing is passing some additional information into that SQL query where this will always be true, right? 1 equals 1. Great. So let's go ahead and see what happens here. Again, I click on login. I go back to the bottom now, and you can see where I'm basically saying select star or select all from users where email equals test2test.com or 1 equals 1 and the password equals password. I'm now getting a little further down the line here. So what I can also then add at this point is an additional parameter. And by adding these two dashes, I'm basically commenting out anything that follows that. Now, just basically adding in these two dashes, which would be passing the SQL query, it would have the two dashes here. So I'm going to basically say where email equals test@test.com or 1 equals 1. And then by having the two dashes here, I'm actually commenting out the rest of that. See, when I pass that now, it will actually be a true statement. So let's go ahead and take a look at what this does. And we can see here now that I'm actually logged in now. You can see under the account, I'm logged in as the admin. Because the website did not have proper error handling, I can do a SQL injection, put in a statement that is true, and then comment out the rest of that SQL query. I didn't even have to provide the password. Basically, I just gave an email that didn't exist because it said either use this email or 1 equals 1, and 1 equals 1 will always be true. The rest of that statement was commented out, and then I was given access to that website. So just a very, very high level, very quick primer into a SQL injection. And then it should also raise some flags with you on the other side as a developer or as a security professional to make sure we sanitize our websites properly. We also make sure that any login forms do not accept improper SQL syntax. And if so, the errors are hidden from the user so they don't have information to go on and try to start digging into how to bypass our login credentials.